have radically different ways of doing DFS, which is one of the things I like about DFS. You can do it a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I'm all about, I love late news. I like all news. I want more news. I'm all about decision points and just trying to be like better than other people and knowing what's going on and pivoting quickly. And like, so I'm a huge fan of news and trades and breaking shit at 650. Like that's the easiest way to just get a big advantage on people and just situations where, your algorithm just goes, and it's like, okay, cool. What's going to actually happen? Like, I love that shit.
I love it too on days that I don't have to do the show.
Oh yeah, like if you're putting $1,000 into play or 10 and you're playing up the lock, talking up the lock with me, that's got to be a gigantic pain in the balls. So I assure you, I will run off at the mouth for an extended period of time where you can fix shit.
So we are live. I appreciate
okay.
that. What's going on, everybody? In case you've been living under a rock for the past 2 hours, Kristaps Porzingis is now a Mav. Half of the Mavs are now no longer Mavs. And I think that we have to start in Dallas in our breakdown of the rest of this slate. So, Eddie, first and foremost, what do you think of the trade?
I think it's great. I love it for everyone. Like, I honestly like it for both teams quite a bit. Like, for the Knicks, I think to me, my first takeaway from this was, wow, the Knicks really think they have a good chance at Kevin Durant.
Yep.
Like, I don't think they pull the trigger on this trade unless they think they are at least 50-50 at getting Kevin Durant next year. So, like, at the beginning of the day, if you said, what are the odds Kevin Durant's a Knick next year? I would have said, like, 20-25%. I thought there was a real chance. I think he wants for his legacy, I brought this storied franchise back to relevance. Yet I think he's out of Golden State, and I think that was the most likely scenario. Now, I'm like 60-40 he ends up on the Knicks. Yeah. So I think it's that and a dog whistle wink to him, like, and we're going to bring someone else in here. And so it'll open, they'll sign Durant. Other people will be like, okay, I get to play next to Kevin Durant. I'll go try to make New York great again. New York's a place people want to play. So I like it for the Knicks. Kristaps is like, I don't want to be here. Kristaps is, a 7'3" guy coming back from a serious, injury. Probably comes back 100%. He's young, but there's some inherent risk there. And you never want a guy who's grumpy and giving shit to management. So management's like, okay, work. I mean, it is a massive, massive risk. But if they won the tank, like God forbid they pick up Zion, like
KD and Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, that's a real possibility. I mean, Kyrie said he's staying, but there's rumblings that if he was going to go, this is how that happens. So. I don't know, but God, I love the NBA. Some exciting shit. But I really like this trade for everybody. And I mean, obviously for the Mavs, you have to be super excited about, just if Kristaps is what he was. And I think there's a good 97% chance that within a year you have, full strength Kristaps, who is a phenomenal player next to Luka. And oh my God, am I excited to see that team. But yeah, the Knicks pick up those guys. Wes is a free agent at the end of the year. They won't re-sign him. DeAndre is a free agent at the end of the year. They won't re-sign him. They have whatever $60 million in cap room now or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, they want that to be Kevin Durant and add a dude. Even like Anthony Davis in theory is they don't have to deal with that Kyrie restriction shit by the trade. Like this very interesting shit. But off the top of my head, I really like it for everybody.
Kawhi Leonard still floating out there too potentially. Who knows where he ends up? I mean, LA is the leader in the clubhouse, but this has just changed the game up a little bit.
Yeah, I absolutely. It's the first thing that the Knicks have done since drafting Kristaps that I wasn't like, well, that was an abject failure. So, especially by Knicks standards, I'm fully erect.
I haven't seen the protections yet, but Shams mentioned 2 first-round picks going from Dallas as well.
Oh, I thought it was 1, 2. All right, even better. Even better. That's more shit to move around.
I thought it was 1, and it was likely to not be a first. And then Shams just came in a little bit ago and said it's 2.
Yeah, I don't. Someone was just like, "Wait, Brow to the Knicks?" I don't think that's at all impossible now. And then they just picked up some trades. Like
I think it's completely impossible.
Completely.
Yeah. Why would they do it?
Why would who do it?
Why would the Knicks do it?
Why would the Knicks want Anthony Davis?
How do they get him with a deal that's better than anything else that anyone can offer right now?
It'd have to be significant. It'd have to be, we'll have Kevin Durant. And I'm not saying it's likely. I'm saying it is now possible as opposed to previously being impossible, both financially and any impetus.
The problem is if they win the lottery, then it really is 0.
Right. I would agree with
because
that.
then they have the ability to sign 2 free agents and have Zion.
Yeah, which seems fairly nuts. Yeah, it's all sorts of crackers.
Yeah,
So,
nothing happens before the draft lottery at this point.
yeah, I don't think so, and I don't think Anthony Davis is going anywhere this year anyway. So
I could see him in LA, but none of it matters at this point.
LA. The thing is that the Pellies know that Boston wants him bad.
Yeah.
And Boston can't come to the table yet.
Yeah.
So they're just getting rid of their best, highest bidder. So LA would have to come so over the top to get them to close it. It's like in my season-long league, alongside Mike Gallagher and a lot of other supposedly experts, somebody straight up traded James Harden to Kemba Walker to Gallagher. And what I wasn't pissed about so much wasn't the fact that it was incredibly stupid, but it was the fact that he didn't shop. He literally went to a guy and went, "Want James Harden for Kemba Walker?" And that guy, who was, of course, Mike Gallagher, went, "Yes." And that was the end of the process. So you have to imagine just doing your due diligence. And whenever you're trying to sell something, you want as many bidders as possible, that they wait to be able to at least get the Celtics in there who are going to throw the moon at them. So I imagine Brow stays put for the year. Not shocked if he gets moved, but I'd give like 3-1 that he's a Pelican through the end of the year.
All right, so let's talk about how this has affected Dallas. The Dallas Mavericks for today have Harrison Barnes on DraftKings at $5K and not another player above 3,800.
Gorgeous.
We have 10 guys, I believe, active for the Mavericks.
Yep.
Who do you like the most outside of Harrison Barnes? I would imagine. When I say the most, Barnes obviously soaks up, like, he becomes the best guy on the team, not necessarily relative to salary.
Right, and not necessarily relative to ownership. I'm good. Do we have ownership? I can't wait to see what our ownership projection is.
We do.
But, I mean, this is, in fairness to whatever elves in wheels or ownership projections we have doing this is a tough spot to grab ownership. So if our ownership is close on Dallas, I'm going to offer an incredibly large tip of the cap to people. But
it should be directionally accurate.
Yeah.
But, this one's a little bit outside of the norm.
Yeah. So, the 3 players who I think should engender the most attention, and the order is a little tough to talk about, and it is site dependent, is Harrison Barnes, Dwight Powell, and Jalen Brunson.
Yes.
For sort of the following, and I'll break down the 7 or so playable guys on the team and just jump in when I say something you disagree with or something stupid or whatever. But Harrison Barnes was fine anyway at 5,000. When we thought that Luka was going to be out, he goes into being, number 1 scoring guy and does not do a lot on the team in general. His criticism, like as a season-long player, and certainly his limitations for his upside in daily fantasy, are the fact that his ceiling is pretty well capped by the fact that he doesn't get a lot of defensive stats. He doesn't do a whole hell of a lot other than score. So he's one of those guys who has a good game, and people are like, "Oh, good game tonight," and he had 24 points and 28 fantasy points. But at this point, you have to project him for like 22 shots. And, he should be able to bludgeon his way. Like, I have him projected right now for 38 fantasy points. I'm a pretty big fan. He's going to play, I'll say, 38 minutes. And he's going to shoot the ball just about every chance he gets. And 5,000 is still at that point fairly safe as well. So I think Harrison Barnes, who we also have projected well less than the other 2 guys I just named, like a half and a third of the ownership of those other 2 players I talked about, does carry with him a pretty big upside. And I like Harrison Barnes.
Same page as you. He just is now the real focal point for this team today, at least. They don't have enough guys that create.
Right, and he's gonna, I mean, if you want to know the way to sort of segue into Jalen Brunson, that he fails, it's just that this offense is now really inefficient. He's not super guy at getting his own shot, so this game devolves into a lot of fall into the half court, 3 wing passes, no one gets open, Harrison Barnes takes a contested jumper 39 times. Like, that's the downside for Jalen Brunson, where at the end of the day, if you're like, wow, Jalen Brunson played 36 minutes, and ended up with 11 fantasy points with 5 shots, an assist, and 2 rebounds, and a steal. And it's like, well, they just were so grotesquely inefficient. Now, I don't think that's likely. If he fails, I think that's how he fails. But they are especially thin in the backcourt.
Yeah.
He's the only guy with whom Carlisle has any measure of trust, and we've seen it before when all the other guards were out. So I have him alongside Powell and Harrison Barnes as the person most likely to suck up the most minutes. I would probably put him on the top of that list. So, 3,400 on DK, minimum price on Yahoo. Don't recall what the hell it is on FanDuel, but doesn't really matter. Towards the bottom, and it's worth putting out that all these guys are better on FanDuel. Like on FanDuel, if you want to run 4 of these bargain guys, I think that's great. Like I would think 3 of them get there. Certainly 2 of the 4 are going to get there. Maybe 3 of them will. There's just so many minutes, and we should talk about minutes projections. But Jalen Brunson, your downside is that they just have a real shit offense today, which isn't hard to imagine. But your upside is he's got to play all the minutes in the damn world. His personal matchup with Reggie Jackson is exceptional.
Yeah.
Like that's certainly a spot you can get over on. Speaking of which, I really like Reggie Jackson, and so does the field, as we have him the highest owned non-Mav, and that makes a lot of sense. I'm surprised how low we are on Andre Drummond. I don't see a lot of Andre Drummond here. I'm just looking at the front page.
Yeah.
I don't see his name, and he's 8,100, and I can't see anyone on this Mavs team stopping him from getting all the food he wants. Feed him more. But
if Andre Drummond doesn't have 20 rebounds, it's because something really wrong happened. Because they don't have those people there anymore.
Seriously, I love on the spot betting. Just like 2 smart guys hang around and just bet $50 on stuff all day. I have a couple friends who I do that with, and it's my favorite thing ever. I love to do stuff with them. Like, okay, I'll make a deal. $50. One of us names another. The other person says over or under for Andre Drummond rebounds. And I don't know what my number would be, but I think it would be like 20.5.
Yeah.
I would really, really think it would be about that number. Powell's a decent rebounder, but he's just woefully undersized. And and then the next guy is Powell. They do want him to play all the minutes at center. They don't want to play Maxey at center. They don't want to play Salah Mejri a million minutes. Now that is possible. Salah Mejri can play 24 minutes, and your downside for...
That's what I have him in for, if that helps you.
You have him in for 24.
Only because of Drummond.
Right. No. I currently have them at 30 and 18, and I was thinking of hedging that even a little lower to like 28 and 20. But yeah, I can see that happening. I will grant you that. I will still take the under on 24 minutes for Salah Mejri, but certainly not an unreasonable point you're making that they just body him up. We haven't seen a starting lineup yet. I have presumed for the last hour and tweeted a couple times, and I broke. But generally, I don't tweet anything about actual knowledge about basketball because I don't like to do it. I don't care how many Twitter followers I have, and like all my friends I've worked with for 5 years at various sites are always out there being like, "Hey, here's free information on how to beat tonight's site," and I'm always like, I'm going to save that for the people in Slack who are paying, or at least the people who have the courtesy to tune into the show. So I very rarely actually tweet anything about here's who I think is good tonight, which apparently costs me a ton of followers, but I don't give a shit. But I tweeted that I'm pretty sure the starting lineup has to be Brunson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Barnes, Kleber, and Powell. But the 2 possible exceptions are Guy in for Dorian Finney-Smith at the 2 to keep him at the bench and have a more traditional 2, because DFS at the 2 is sketchy. I think it is DFS, especially because the various 2 and 3 options on the Pistons are not bowling you over, but possibly they make a move there. And the other one would be that they actually start Salah Mejri. But if we don't get news that Salah Mejri is going to start, Powell is the best point per minute player left on this team. And I think he's good for, we'll be hesitant and say a point a minute in what is a difficult matchup. But again, $3,200, that's pretty sexy. Past that, I would then have the Mejri question is real interesting. If he doesn't start, I like him. He's obviously the best 3K player on DraftKings. There are some contractual issues with him. I thought that they were going to drop him after having him play today. Like they won't.
So did I.
Great. Right. I thought they're not going to execute the trade till tomorrow morning or midnight tonight, and they'll be like, "Get out there, 37 minutes."
I sent that exact message to Adam while they were on the show.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I was like, they've done. It has happened in the NBA twice in the last few years, where they were like, "Hey, you're going to get cut," more frequently in summer league. Forget who it was with the Pacers this year, but they did that with, oh God, what was his name? Power forward in the summer on the Pacers. It's driving me crazy. But anyhow, they were like, yeah, we're going to release him in 2 days. but he can play tonight. And he went out and played Poitras.
Oh, Alex Poitras, yeah.
They're like, we're going to let him go, but we're going to let him run out. And he played like 26 minutes that night. Then they let him go the next day. But I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. So I wasn't shocked if they were like, hey, Sla, obviously you're going to want to pick up somewhere else. Want to show off? We've got this giant Andre Drummond guy we could use some help with for a while.
Like that first rotation, if Powell starts, will dictate everything for Salah Mejri's minutes.
Yeah.
Because Andre Drummond could pick up 2 fouls on Dwight Powell in 4 possessions.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Salah Mejri is absolutely playing 24 minutes.
Yeah. So I love, so of all those guys, I have absolutely no issue with them in tournaments. Salah Mejri for me, I think would just be tournaments.
Yeah.
But 3K, I mean, if he worked his way into your cash lineup, I don't think I'd be like I would be very surprised if he did not play 17 minutes tonight or something. Like, I would be shocked if that much time doesn't come out of him. That'd be like 31 out of Powell. I do think those two guys split the 5 times, especially against Drummond and Blake and all that shit. So
yeah, unless this is a 40-point game at some point in time, I would be shocked if those two guys don't add up to 48 in the end.
Yeah. So at the beginning of the day, people were like, "Oh, there's only 7 guys." You got. I'm like, there's not 7 guys. They announced several days ago that Spalding and Macon and Antetokounmpo were with the team for the road trip. Which
Spalding's not anymore. They officially cut him.
Oh, they let him go?
Yeah.
Bye.
I just shaved 2 minutes off of Mejri. I went 26-22 now.
Okay, I
have no confidence, honestly.
I don't have a ton. I think my most likely scenario is that Powell starts, just because they want him to get more time than Mejri, and that Mejri plays based on how bad it goes for Dwight Powell.
Yeah.
But Mejri. So anyway, Mejri is an excellent GPP pivot off Dwight Powell. If you were building the same lineup, I would take Powell out of cash and put Mejri in tournaments. I think that's just great. It's your classic GPP play, lower owned, immediate leverage off a popular player on the slate. Right now we have Dwight Powell at 62%.
Yeah,
and we have, I imagine, Salah Mejri at 7. 1, right? So 1/60th is a good ownership ratio. Sure. So and I honestly think that he might be, like, Mejri is probably my, I don't know, 3rd favorite GPP play on this team. 2nd? Like, I really like Salah Mejri in tournaments. Yeah. Then beyond that, I don't think they extend Devin Harris past 22 minutes. This, again, is obviously subject to foul trouble and various other things, but he's old and oft injured, and I don't think they start him. I don't think they throw 29 minutes at him, but certainly, still very interesting in a role where, like, all these guys, there's just usage floating around too. Yeah. Like, he'll likely be on when Harrison Barnes is off, and he's a guy who does not mind taking and hopefully making a shot. So Devin Harris would be in play for me as a guy to play in tournaments, but again, not thrilled with him. I like him less than Mejri. I like him less than all the starters. I probably like him less than Dorian Finney-Smith, who is not a guy I like to play because he's fantasy really, really bad. He's 0.6, 6.5 minute guy, but I think he plays 32 minutes, 34 minutes. Yeah. So he should be on your list somewhere. So,
so far we're on the exact same page here. But
okay, yeah. and I think that is common sense. One of the reasons someone asked me a little while ago, is this a bet more night? And I am a big fan of varying the size of your wager. People talk a lot in DFS about bankroll management, and it is frequently misstated or mistaken as play the same amount every night, which I think is a terrible idea. Every sort of competitive betting sphere gets much, much better when you vary the size of your bet. Many of them, like blackjack, you actually cannot win unless you vary the size of your bet. And I feel that way about DFS a lot. This news was kind of early, and I do think the reaction is kind of intuitive.
Yeah.
So
there's not a lot of options.
Right. Yeah. And it's just, I think most people have it. I would have been, there's times, I don't know, there's times I strongly, am a fan of that, but barring more news coming out, but I will, since I started the story, say it is important to me as a DFS player. And one of the skills I find most lacking in other professionals I meet and talk to is a really well thought out plan for how they're going to increase their exposure. Like, many of them and most of them do, and all of them should have a plan for, okay, a guy is out, here's immediately how I make the adjustments in my lineups, whether or not it's the late swap fantasy cruncher thing, which is apparently the nuts, or if you're playing one lineup on 3 sites, but know what you're going to do if tonight, I don't know, they scratch Harrison Barnes at 6:57.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Or if that trade happened at 6:30.
What'd you say?
If that trade happened at 6:30.
Did it?
No. I mean, like, if this trade happened
Oh, right. If this
now,
trade, I was like, I'm confused. Did they sign the papers 8 minutes in the future? You sent me spinning. Yeah. If this trade, how do you, what's your best way to react? What page do you go to first? Which site, if you're playing multiple sites, do you go to? What buttons do you like? Have a plan, and then most people have that. But second part is, how do you get more money on the table? Is it go straight to this webpage, drop a million head-to-heads? Is it go to the front and click through the extra ads? Is it just have a process? Because you get news at 6:52, 6:54, 6:57, 6:59. And if you're good, it makes a month. Like, literally, there are times that back when I was a player, my ability to react to news at 6:58 would, half my money in a year was just like, oh, sweet, I managed to get 6 times as much money on the table, get a guy out of my lineup who is now dead money in 21% of lineups, and get his replacement into all those lineups. A guy who would have been in a vacuum 45% owned, I got it 3% owned because I had that process laid out. So obviously that's way off topic for today, but I'm a huge fan of people really being ready to do that, because it's only going to happen 1 to 7 times a year. But when it does, you can make half your money in a year.
Yeah. This Mavs team, man, it's going to be interesting.
It is Macon filling in the 10th spot.
Yeah. I have him in as 16 minutes straight backing up Jalen Brunson.
Yep.
Who knows?
No,
the guys that I don't really care about in this one are Macon, Dirk, and Ryan Brokoff.
I think that's correct. I would want no exposure to certainly Macon. You could talk me in crazy worlds into Dirk or Brokoff, but again, this is a back-to-back for Dirk.
I didn't even think Dirk was playing today. He was out until this trade happened.
Yeah, it's. I don't think he plays if the trade is not consummated. But but Brokoff, I'm not shocked to see 24 minutes out of Brokoff and whatever. But he would be after Devin Harris for me. But if I'm in 150 lineups, I probably have a non-zero Brokoff. But I'd be 0 on Macon and Dirk. Those would be the two Mavs I would not have some exposure to, I think.
Yeah. How much does this make you like Andre Drummond, particularly on DraftKings at 8,100?
Especially if our ownership with his number somewhere around 20 holds, he's probably the best play on the slate.
Yeah.
I think at the moment, like, I frequently when we do ownership at the end, I go through and this guy's 1%, this guy's 4%. Okay, this guy 2% is the best play on the slate. If Andre Drummond is 20%, regardless as to what happens, he's probably going to be the best play on the slate, because there's almost no relevant floor. Like, I guess you can get a blowout and he plays 26 minutes and scores 33 fantasy points for his 8,100, but that's going to be really hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about Reggie Jackson. What do you think about Reggie?
He was great 9 hours ago when Laffy and I broke this slate down and there was no value. It was like, oh yeah, Reggie Jackson's the nuts. And then the ownership came out and he was at like 44%. And it was like, well, yeah, that's kind of where it has to be because there's nothing out there. We've got him at 29% now. He still looks great. He's become significantly less of a necessity.
Yeah. Although you are now adding some fun correlation just because you're sort of stacking this game now.
Yeah.
Like, it's real easy on DraftKings to go, okay, basically Reggie, Drummond, 4 Mavs, 2 studs, begin. Like, that would be my default lineup. As a matter of fact, I think my last GPP lineup I just described. Let me check.
I mean, he seems like a really safe bet across the board now because of that price tag.
Yep.
And him being owned less, I think, is somehow more appealing.
Yeah, certainly. No, I'm. It's just the minutes with Ish gone and everyone else being shit. Like, it's really weird where they finally decided to start giving Reggie Jackson time. Like, Ish was out before it, they didn't give him time, and many people were out before and they just didn't give him time for the whole goddamn year. It was like, nope, 24 minutes, even in a just fine match. And they play anyone else at the point guard. Let's let Bruce Brown play point for 20 minutes. Like, they were doing everything they could several times recently. I think he's got 36, 37 minutes the last 2 games. I'll take it. But just really, really random how that decision was made. It seemed to be apropos of absolutely nothing. We're like, oh, we're going to give him some time again. But taking 14, 15 shots against the team in this chaos. So, yep, my first lineup is probably, I know, I actually know, yep. But I like Reggie just plenty. Certainly not a must by any means, but The line on this game has not gotten that big. It's like 8 or something.
Last I saw was 7. I don't know if it's gone up since we started, but they were less of an underdog than the Sixers tonight.
Which is hilarious. I mean, in fairness, they are going up against, not quite the 92 Dream Team, but really not that far from it.
Yeah.
You guys, I saw people talking in chat. Did you guys do the who wins the East All Stars or the Warriors?
Yeah, Lafayette asked me today.
Did that come up? I think because of the benches, it's the East All Stars.
I said now that Kawhi is in the East, it tips the scales.
Right, but it's also the fact that if you actually mean the entire current Golden State Warriors team and the Eastern Conference All Stars, the Eastern Conference All Stars have a much better bench.
Yeah.
Like the 6 through 10 guys are a little bit better on the Eastern All Star team, so that would tip it for me. But I think the fact that it's a conversation gives you an idea just how stupid this Warriors team is, and the fact they're favored by 10.
Who do you start in that game? Let's try to do that quickly so that people don't yell at us about not talking DFS. But who are your 5 starters in that scenario?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I mean, Giannis and Kawhi.
Giannis starts. Kawhi starts. Certainly, I'm just trying to prioritize who guards who. Let's do it at 7 o'clock.
Okay, deal.
I'm happy to do that, but let's do it at 7 o'clock. I would want to spend some time because there's weird guys like I kind of want to get Ben Simmons out there for some of the things he can do on the defensive end. And there's some weird choices. Like, do I buy Lowry if it's just one game? Like, there's some interesting questions.
Kyrie, Butler, Kawhi, Giannis, Embiid is my 5.
That sounds right. Off the top of my head, they're all very good on the defensive end of the court, too. It's a team that's going to guard the 3 well. It gives you some decent matchups. So, yeah.
We'll get there.
Okay, let's go.
Does this change anything for you for Blake, and then we'we'll get out of this game?
It would increase his ceiling and lower his floor for me. I think it adds, as changing the line on anything will do, but the inability of anyone to guard him, and I imagine we have him even lower owned. It's going to be site dependent again. Yeah. DraftKings, he's much. Right now we have Drummond at 13%. I mean, it's going to be higher than that, but
going to be higher than that in my lineups.
He's 100% in the one lineup I'm making that I'm not entering. We have Blake at 9. Like, I'm a huge fan if that number is anywhere near that point because Maxi Kleber is not going to do a great job on him.
No, not so much. Nor is Dirk.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think Dirk plays more than 10 minutes. I have Dirk at 10 or 12.
It would surprise me.
Yeah. But I like Blake. I like Maxi Kleber a lot too, and he's in some places better than Powell because on Yahoo, where all the centers are really, really stupidly low priced, Maxi Kleber is a forward, Dwight Powell is a center. So FanDuel, yeah, you want Powell. DraftKings, yeah, you want Powell because there aren't any positions. Yahoo, I'd probably play Maxi Kleber over him because center is that stupid.
So we're at the midway point right now. So let's move on to the 2 games that matter most, I think, which would be Warriors, Sixers, and Clippers, Lakers. Let's start Warriors and Sixers.
I also think there's some really important plays in Bucks Raptors.
I do not disagree.
Okay.
We've got 5 quote unquote studs in Golden State right now, with Cousins ramping up, a $5,800 Klay Thompson on DraftKings. What do you like most from DraftKings, or what do you like most from the Warriors? Sight be damned.
I like Steph the most. I like the individual matchup the most. The price is reduced the most. I want to get super ceiling here. The addition of lots of value I like makes me less inclined. No, I mean, you do reduce the ownership on Draymond and Klay because everyone is going to get pushed towards Giannis, Kawhi, Steph, Durant, and Mavs who cost $3K. And then that's worth considering. But Steph is the top of the totem pole for me. How about you?
I would agree. I would prefer Steph amongst all of them. Although if Klay Thompson were just like a slightly different player, that 5,800 would be egregious. But he just has the opportunity to not necessarily have to be involved.
Yeah.
But on a Klay day, when he doubles up that price tag, it can be really, really scary. But Steph is the guy that I would pick.
Yeah, I think my order on we'll say DraftKings, for example, would probably be Steph, Draymond, Durant, Klay, Cousins. Maybe Klay, Durant, Cousins. But Cousins at the bottom. Draymond second after Steph.
All of that sounds perfect to me.
You and I have to work on disagreeing more because we're literally basically having sex on air right now.
Yeah.
Like I can feel your hot breath on the back of my neck.
It's just how it is for today.
Okay, I'll try to be more wrong. Let's keep going. We'll run into something where we
Okay.
did.
Prioritize the 76ers. Embiid, Simmons, Butler.
We will again use DK for the standard because this is very different site per site.
Yes, it is.
And I will go with Embiid, then Simmons, then Butler.
Okay, so you're ready? Now we can be different. Let me make sure that I'm not lying here. Because I know I had a very specific... Yeah, okay. So Butler is first for me.
Okay. 74.
Yeah, that is a price thing. I would then go to Embiid and then Simmons last at 8,600. But Butler is the guy that I like the most in that scenario just because of his price.
Okay, I'm totally fine with that. Again, I think I would have actually agreed with you an hour ago. So I'm just again affected by how I think frequent roster construction comes through for me on DraftKings. Like I just think I end up having 3 value pieces, 2 of which are probably Mavs, Harrison Barnes, someone in this. Like there's always a someone in a Butler. Like I've been tinkering with it. That spot's been Draymond. That spot's been Butler. That spot's been Ibaka, who I'm pretty well in love with here. But okay, I'm totally fine with that. Points per dollar, I will actually concede to you.
Okay.
That you're correct. Barely. Looking at the math in my head, I have Embiid for just I barely have you points per dollar ahead. I have Embiid at like 5.2. I have Butler at like 5.4. So you're
in our ownership for the Warriors, Curry, Cousins, Green, Clay, all in the mid-20s. Kevin Durant, 15. Makes me a little interested in Kevin Durant for I don't know why, because that's really a marginal jump up to like 22% on Dre, but stands out because the first number is different.
Yeah, it sounds psychological price pointing is a real thing.
Yeah,
guys at 5,900 versus 6,000 get 2% extra ownership.
Yeah,
just because I was like I cannot tell. I used to crack up reading LeBron is under 10K. Like literally in the exact same situation, $10,100 LeBron would be 20% owned, and $9,900 LeBron would be 35% owned. And I was just like, and I would read articles and people are like, LeBron's under 10K, I gotta go there. And I'm like, really? Like that 1% change in his salary tilts you from meh to gotta go. Like so, the 99% thing affecting people in DFS never ceases to amuse me.
Do you have anybody else in Warriors Sixers that you would want to touch on?
Wilson Chandler on FanDuel I still like. They're really screwing with TJ McConnell's minutes a little more. Don't really like that. Iggy at 39 on DK. I'm fine rolling in a tournament, but no, not really.
Clippers and Lakers. Now we need to put our FanDuel hats on because the Lakers on FanDuel are a very, very different team.
Yes.
I don't have a ton of interest outside of Rondo on DK, but on FanDuel, where all of these guys are just dramatically underpriced comparatively. Any sort of immediate preference? If
Kuzma plays him,
yes.
$6,200 Kuzma is wham! Like just get that shit. I mean, just as a that's super exciting. So it's Kuzma 653 or late slate. Thumbs up, soldier. Past that, I'd probably prefer Zubac to JaVale McGee, but big fan of playing either one. I just think Zubac starts and gets going, and that tends to lead to more time and not a situation I'm super worried about foul trouble. So I think he plays out the string, and so probably Zubac over McGee there for me. Still fine with Brandon Ingram. Obviously, there you want Kuzma out. But Ingram, fine regardless, and Rondo is great as well. Even $4,000 KCP, who you can drop with a smile, is pretty fine too. So yeah, on FanDuel, I'm if it weren't for these Mavs, I'd have been on triple Laker probably, or at least double.
Yeah, loading up on that entire Lakers side on FanDuel just feels so damn appealing.
Feels so good, and I don't hate running it back across the way either.
Nope.
Like. The prices there aren't as great, but 73 for Lou Will, yeah, that feels really good. I really liked him last time they played, and he did drop 50 or whatever. That feels really good. Like I don't want to pay $6,000 on Pat Beverly. That one can slide, but dropping Avery Bradley instead of dropping Kentavious Caldwell-Pope works. 8,100 for Tobias Harris, still too cheap with no Gallinari. My man's good. He's going to average a little north of 40 as long as Gallinari is not with this team.
Yeah.
So he's still very, very good. And that FanDuel price, again, whenever you're $400 cheaper on FanDuel than DraftKings, you are likely mispriced. So,
yes, you are.
So, Lou and Tobias most. But, yes, no, that's nothing. I don't think I have anything super sexy, fun thing to try here. Montrezl Harrell, really too cheap on DK and really too cheap on Yahoo. But, I mean, who is Yahoo? Drummond is 32, I think. I got to go back and look at, like, Yahoo center is a kick in the balls. You have Powell, obviously, at 10. You have Drummond at 32. I'll take a look. You have Serge at 22, who I absolutely love. So, segueing into that game.
Yeah, let's hit it.
Yeah, so I really like the front court for the Raptors here. And with Kawhi in twice and Kawhi out once, it hasn't mattered.
Siakam in particular for me on DraftKings is my dude.
Yeah, I love them both. He's 62 on DK, 65 on FanDuel. I'm a big fan. Ibaka on wherever. I mean, power forward is an issue, but I think someone could look this up for me. But I think if you game log watch this also, and I've been saying this the entire year, it's worked out every time. I think in the 3 games against the Bucks, Ibaka has 45, 45, and 45, and Siakam has 45, 35, and 45. Like, they haven't missed yet. They're 6 for 6. I'm pretty sure that literally there's one game under 45 or 44 fantasy points, and it's Siakam's, whose worst one was like 35 or 36 or something. Like, it's been good every time, and it just looks like an absolutely great matchup. And they keep running into this excellent 3-point penetration. Then there's a pick and a screen. One of those guys rolls and gets a dunk. It happens about 16 times a game, and I expect it to happen again. So I'm just a huge fan of both of those guys where they are priced better. Yahoo. Ibaka's a center, which sucks, obviously, because, again, all the centers are $10 too cheap. And Pascal is, I think, $6 more and a power forward. So either of them make me super, super happy. But love those members of the front court. Other than that, it's take or leave for me. I don't mind Kawhi. Not the greatest spot for him. There is a ceiling. Obviously, there's lots of pay up. I haven't checked the ownership yet. Assuming he's like 15% or something, I would certainly still have some interest in that.
22.
All right.
Your boy, Ibaka, 11.
Yeah.
I can see something rising from the base of the screen clip I have here of you. What?
Just my rate.
Oh, it looks really narrow.
Well, I'm getting old. So, you can get like a little pump and then you... Anyway. Yeah, I love Serge. So, Serge, big fan. I think that is a high projection. And 2 of those games had extra shooting, and one of them had lots of peripherals. And so I only project him for 38 or 39. But okay, I'm willing to tolerate that for 22 or 6,100. I think is the DK nut. So, yep, big fan of those front court guys. Kawhi, I would probably rather Giannis at their prices, assuming we have them at similar ownership, which I'm guessing if you said Kawhi was 22, 23, that's about where we have Giannis, I would think.
24.
Yeah, there you go. So, I would probably rather find the money for Giannis.
Okay. I don't disagree.
This is the first day in 9 games. I don't really like Eric Bledsoe. I think I should run that out there since I've literally been riding his dick for 2 weeks, which is tiring.
I'm still on his penis today.
Okay, I don't hate him.
Yeah,
I'm just saying today is the first day that he is not in one of the 3 GPP lineups I have in front of me, and that's the first time in a game he's played in 10 days. Because he's been great. He's just been outstanding. So, it's just 2 of those 3 have Giannis in them, and he didn't happen to price in the third one, and the correlation didn't work quite that perfectly. And again, being led to stars and scrubs pulls me away from 7K guys, but not arguing with anyone. Plus, he's still too cheap on DK. What is he, 66 or something?
Yes, 8% expected ownership.
Yeah,
and just if you're looking for a little bit of additional information, Kyle Lowry is at 7,100 and projected for 21. How much do you like Eric Bledsoe now?
More. I don't get Kyle Lowry. I don't get Kyle Lowry at all when Kawhi is playing. Like,
Yeah.
literally, the stats for this year are he has played 37 games with Kawhi and been good in 2 of them, and played 15 games without Kawhi and been good in 13 of them. I'm maybe I'm missing something, but like I don't know. That's where I come down on that. But yes, I like Bledsoe quite a bit more than Lowry. He just defers.
Yeah,
What
he does.
Kawhi is there to him and just everybody else. And again, the way they get defended by the Bucks, it just doesn't play into his strength. So yeah, if that ownership is remotely correct, much bigger fan of Bledsoe.
Middleton, Brogdon, either guy?
No.
Ooh, okay.
I don't hate them. Middleton is just. I mean, Middleton at a guy who's probably 10% owned or something. He's 6,200 on DK. You know, shooter's going to shoot. That could certainly happen, but just like one lineup, I would never get there. 150, I would have. I don't know, 5 Brogdons and 9 Middletons or something.
Yeah.
But one lineup, I don't think I'd ever have them. I'd have them much less than Jimmy Butler and Lou Williams, and those guys are like a grand more. But I'm just saying, I don't think I would ever find the slot again with just so much of it with the Dallas news. I would have 100 Dwight Powell and 65 Salah Mejri and some really crazy numbers of guys from that team, and Brunson I'd have a giant chunk of. So just spots would be running out on me, I expect.
Okay. Anybody else from this game?
No. Really prioritize Pascal Ibaka and Giannis. Past that, Bledsoe would be next for me at this point, and certainly at the ownership we're talking about. By the way, the disrespect they're giving to my man Bledsoe. Jesus.
I know.
Somebody own my guy. Like literally, I was on a show last week and I'm going, okay, he's averaging like a fantasy point and a half a minute the last 4 games in a row and is in a great matchup, and no one's going to play him again. He was like 4% owned. What the fuck are people waiting for? Sorry.
While we have everybody here, don't be afraid to hit that like button. It would be very helpful considering we have over 1,700 of you.
Hey, nice.
Yeah. So, welcome everybody. Thanks. Special thanks goes out to Kristaps Porzingis getting traded, which I assume is making this a little bit more appealing.
That's great. We can definitely talk a little post lock because, geez, that's some exciting stuff.
DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge. Aldridge getting a matchup against the Nets, which has always been a very good thing for people that are big.
Yep.
DeMar DeRozan is $7,800 on DraftKings and coming in a little rested.
Yeah, and 8 on FanDuel, which is even better.
Yes.
So yeah, Daddy Lake.
13% on DraftKings right now.
Yeah, I would be again. It's always going to be site dependent. The prices obviously affect a little bit, but the addition beyond that is the fact that, like on FanDuel, Power 4 is really hard for me because, as I've mentioned, I really want to play Dwight Powell. I don't mind playing Maxi Kleber. I really want to play Pascal Siakam. I certainly don't mind playing Serge Ibaka. And so, coming up with the room for LaMarcus Aldridge is tough. Yahoo, son of a bitch, is a center. Pain in the ass. So DraftKings, yes, I really like getting Aldridge. And on DraftKings, I probably prefer Aldridge a little bit at his price. The other 2 sites, mostly because of the restriction, but also I haven't projected close enough that I'm fine with it. Just broad-based raw points. Yahoo and FanDuel, I would certainly be playing a lot more DeRozan. I'll put it that way.
Okay. Do you have anybody else you want to touch on from this game? Because we're getting a lot of questions and people are getting salty that I'm not Spags and answering them all.
Listen, Josh is the nuts and knows his shit, and I wish I had like 6 hours a week for you and I to go back and forth on shit. So I feel bad for Spags who just feeds me questions for an hour. So don't complain when you're getting the goods, people. Jesus.
Look, today is a unique day. We got hit with the atom bomb of trades at 4:30. So
I was like, what? Like my first tweet was what? I was just like, I did not see that. And the funny thing is the fucking speed. Yeah. Literally, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. Met with management. Says I was grumpy. An hour later, like trade rumors.
It was like, here's a list of teams that are going to try to trade for Kristaps Porzingis.
4 teams are interested. An hour later, he got traded. I'm like, what? How does that happen?
I sat down to eat lunch and opened my phone, and all of a sudden, it was just like exploding.
Yeah, we should get to questions. But the other thing I will say, the fact that they pulled up those 3 guys from the Mavs for this road trip ahead of time makes me think that maybe this was in the weeds.
Yeah.
That like maybe this was already being talked about, and they're like, let's bring up a few guys. We might be trading half the team to the Knicks for salary purposes. So I could think this may not all have come about in the last 12 hours for this. This may be 3 or 4 days old.
All right, questions in Slack. Let's get them in there. And if you aren't in Slack answering questions or asking questions, you could use the promo code live before lock, one big word. You'll get 50% off your first month with us. So why else? Why would you want to be anywhere else?
Let's do it, you and me.
Cash Game Center on FanDuel tonight.
Probably Andre Drummond. He's not that bad there. Centers are wicked overpriced on FanDuel always, especially when we were spoiled by DraftKings. So maybe they're appropriately priced. But I have a feeling for me it's $9,200. Andre Drummond is the first place I'm looking in this matchup. But I'm going
that's the first place that I'm going as well.
I think it's Drummond, Zubac, done. I don't think I have another guy I want to play in cash. I don't mind Embiid, obviously, but 11-6, just I think it's Drummond, Zubac are the guys I would play in cash. If I build 100 cash lineups, I think I would have those two men.
Depending on what the rest of my structure looked like, I'd be willing to just pay $3,500 for Salah Mejri and fill out elsewhere. I doubt that I get there, but the fact that he is the flat minimum at least lets me look at that structure. But Andre Drummond is number one with a bullet for me.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Let's see. Cash Game Center is what I hit. DKGPP. Embiid and Siakam or Giannis and Ibaka?
Giannis and Ibaka for me.
I believe that Giannis and Ibaka is my answer as well.
Yeah, I love them both. I mean,
actually, oh god,
I have absolutely no issue with that pivot, and it has something to do with what other players are playing in the correlation. So that is really 6 of one, half a dozen of another for me. Yeah. But I'm inclined towards, I really like Giannis and I really like Ibaka, and they're actually playing opposite each other, and I'm led that way a little more, but no strong take, but Giannis and Ibaka for me.
Yeah. FanDuel, Curry and Drummond or Rondo and Embiid?
Curry and Drummond.
Yeah, agreed.
Not close.
7,100 to spend on a utility spot in a DK GPP. Who are you going with?
Rondo is 7. Comes to mind as the first name. I don't mind Montrezl Harrell. I don't mind Aaron Gordon. I will throw that out there. Has big games versus Indiana versus Thad, and Bledsoe is in that area too.
Yeah.
So any of those names, I'm not differing with you in any way. Pascal is 6,200. I don't think you want to leave $900 on the table unless you have to. So I probably first GPP lineup for ownership and stuff actually play Aaron Gordon. I like to leave $200 or $300 on the table when I can. Like I think it's actually at the end of the day, I believe it is more ideal to leave $100 on the table than zero.
Yes.
Just because human tendencies, and again, the psychology, we've talked about the price pointing with the $9,900 versus $10,000 thing. People hate not spending all their fucking money. So there's just an inclination where if you look, and I used to look at this when the various sites I've worked at and working at Fantasy Feud for years, you would have days where, and again, we had guys cost $59,900. And it was hard to spend all the money, and people did everything possible and made misplays. So I'm a huge fan of leaving. It depends on the site. FanDuel, leave $600, leave $800, leave $1,000. That's fine. DK, never really want to leave more than $500 or $600, but I'm a big fan of leaving a couple bucks if you can.
Hey, here's a question that no one else in this world is asking right now. Thoughts on Terrence Ross or Iggy on FanDuel today in a GPP?
Terrence Ross or $5,100 Iggy on FanDuel in a GPP.
Certainly getting off the beaten path with this shit.
Yeah, my thoughts are you are a, Captain Morgan salute. You're an interesting individual. I would play Iggy. Steals and blocks, FanDuel scoring, even lower ownership. Matchup with Philly is supposed to match up with the Pacers. I'll play Iggy between those two guys.
I would probably go to Terrence Ross. I would also probably not look to either of them.
Right. I'm not trying to do either of those things. But in fairness, I would slightly prefer either one to Danny Green, I think.
Sure.
And
I feel like I haven't heard Terrence Ross or Andre Iguodala's name even at the beginning of the day, it was like, Ross is on the fence. I don't
It's a
even think we
breath.
mentioned Iguodala.
Yeah, it's a breath of fresh air. That FanDuel price sucks. 39 on DK, we can talk.
Yeah,
50
yeah.
FanDuel. Boy. But again, if you're building 150 lineups, I don't mind having a share or two of those guys. Like
No.
they can win you a slate. I'm fine.
Any Corey Joseph thoughts today?
Worse than he was, yesterday when he wasn't starting. So he was downgraded today by moving into the starting lineup to me. Like today would be the first day I'd consider Edmund Sumner. Put it that way. He's next to, like, Kojo does not himself carry a lot of value, right? And what value he carried is the fact that he's playing point guard for maybe 20 minutes because Darren Collison plays point guard for the other 28 minutes. Well, now he's starting next to Darren Collison, so he's not even going to pick up many assists. So sure, you have those weird days where you get, off the ball. Jamal Murray is sometimes better, and there are scenarios where this works out, but I think it's bad news for Corey Joseph. I wouldn't want it. He's 4,000, I think, on FanDuel, and you can drop him. So feel free. Makes an interesting pivot off, say, Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, he's a much better guy to have on a team that's good.
Yeah. I would be surprised if he moved into the starting lineup and had a ceiling game. I'll put it that.
I don't disagree there.
He would be my least favorite of those 5 starters in a tournament. I would rather play Bojan. I would rather play Thad. I would rather play Darren Collison, especially coming off a epically shitty game. And I would rather play Miles Turner.
You wanted to be different earlier. You're going to get that here. The question is Siakam or Ibaka. I am going Siakam, and you are going Ibaka, correct?
Yeah, all else being equal.
There you go.
I will, but not with any confidence. And again, the sites really push you to one side or the other on that and price. But yeah, DK, they're roughly equal, and I really like both of them. So
Barnes and Maxey or Finney Smith and Siakam in FanDuel cash.
In cash, Barnes and Maxey.
Yep, absolutely. Powell and Giannis.
In tournaments you could go the other way, but in cash, yeah, that's Barnes and Maxey.
Bet on the playing time there.
Yep.
Powell and Giannis or Drummond and Tobias Harris, Yahoo cash.
Jesus Christ! Again, the center pricing makes it so insane.
Yeah.
I guess it's Drummond and Giannis at that. It's
Drummond and Tobias. You mean
Drummond and Harris at that point? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they're both in there for 40, 45 for you. Like that feels good.
Pat Bev or Collison, no sight. It's Bev for me.
Yeah, Bev.
DeMar DeRozan or Jimmy Butler on FanDuel.
Assuming you are not getting anything with the $600, it's Jimmy Butler for me. I mean, if it's just who would I rather play if I don't get anything by saving 600 beans, I would rather play Jimmy Butler, just game and pace and everything. But
I'll take DeRozan.
Really?
Yeah.
It's so confusing me. Okay.
Yeah, I'll take DeRozan there.
Just like projection.
I have DeMar DeRozan 0.7 of a point ahead of him.
I have him 0.2 of a point behind him. Okay.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is a 55-45 club.
I was just curious. That's. I would just because of the extent of your love and what I thought your projection was due to our previous DK conversation was the reason that I reacted with some surprise. That's all.
The bigger arching point here is that I don't generally like the Sixers today.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see how that shakes out.
Yeah. Good luck to you.
Go Warriors.
Yeah, there's a real chance they just get humbled.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are a team up and coming. That's nice.
Yeah. Here's a 40-point loss.
Watch this. See if you can handle this.
We're rolling on all cylinders. Draymond or Ibaka, DKGPP.
Ibaka. Gotta go with my guy. I like Draymond a lot, but Ibaka. It's really a good Draymond spot too.
I have more Draymond, so I have to answer Draymond.
Yeah,
that is not an indictment on Ibaka.
Yeah, I would have it. No, it's yeah. Again, a slightly better chance the Ibaka game stays close.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Just a couple other things, but I'm again very close enough that I'm not upset with you either way.
Okay. Oh God. Iggy and Aaron Gordon or Brunson and Ingram? No site given.
The second one in cash, probably the first one in tournaments for good time.
Yeah, I agree there. Boy.
That's like 3 more Iguodala questions than you expected.
Yeah.
2.5 minutes.
I assume that's 3 more Iguodala questions than we expected in the aggregate.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely yes with you there.
Any thoughts on Joe Harris?
No, thanks.
Yeah, no.
Like I like Joe Harris, and he's always the guy they throw extra minutes to. Like he's just literally the guy. Like, oh, we've got 9 minutes to spare. Let's give him to Joe. Like they just love giving him the time. But yeah, no.
DKGPP, Butler and Griffin, or Simmons and DeRozan? That's Simmons and DeRozan for me, I think. God damn, that's tough.
I barely have it Simmons and DeRozan, but yeah, that's why it took a second. I'm like, well, but I'll go Simmons and DeRozan. But yes, that's, again, close enough. These are good questions in that they're terrible questions in that they're both really good every time. So it's,
yeah.
Like, I hate, one of the toughest parts about our jobs is you're constantly asking questions that are 51-49. So, like, if you get 60% of them right, you are whooping the field and your expected win percentage.
I got to break in here. Salamejri is starting.
Do it to it, team. Let's go. Pivot. You got 95 seconds. Get in there. Get yourself some Salah.
If you want to take a look at chat quick while I swap into Salamejri in a couple lineups, I'd appreciate it.
Everyone, do your thing. Get Salah. That's outstanding news, everybody. Wow. That is some exciting news. And again, that is a 7 o'clock game. So you are about 90 seconds out from getting that done. FanDuel, I would fix after DraftKings for those of you who are on both sites because, Salah would have to come in at center and power forward. You're still fine with Powell at that price, but it's very interesting that they have decided to start Salamejri in there. So that is some exciting stuff, and I would encourage you to get some. I'm activating him since he is on my bench in a season-long league, and I am throwing him in there. Yeah, get in there. I'm pulling him off my bench. I'm playing him in my season-long league. So, yes, Salamejri is starting next to the other 4 guys I expected. So it is Barnes, Kleber, Finney-Smith, Brunson, and Salamejri. That big bastard. It's going to be a great game of Daddy Like in 20 seconds. Let's go, you and I, where the evening is spread out.
Chris Laro says he still won't play more than 12 minutes. Chris Laro apparently doesn't have any idea how many people are healthy for the Mavs today.
Incorrect, but
yeah. I mean, he could, but it would shock the shit out of me at this point. He's going to play a lot.
He'll have to be foul trouble. I still think I have him at like 25, but I'm perfectly fine with minimum price on DK.
We're locked.
Oh my god, how exciting!
I got him into 1.
Did you get him into 1? Bravo. Let's see what his ownership is.
If it's higher than 5, I'd be shocked.
I'm gonna take over 5. I'm gonna say with 3 minutes to go and the mass multi people, I'm gonna say thanks to our friends at Fantasy Crunch and their excellent late swapitude, whatever the hell. I'm gonna say we get to like 6, but I'm interested to see. All right, I'm looking.
By the way, don't forget who told you guys that I thought he was going to play 24 minutes 45 minutes ago, people.
You got it, brother. You nailed it. I had considered the possibility of him starting about an hour ago. I was like, maybe they just run his ass out there. But
if they're playing a different team, it's one thing. But they need somebody that is big.
Yeah.
Andre Drummond is a different level of physical center.
Yeah, he's not messing around.
Now, he could still suck. That's still certainly on the table.
It's just a DK, especially. It's brilliant. FanDuel, it's fine. 3.3% in the largest tournament on DK.
Damn.
So shout out to my friend whose account I logged into to check these scores and has them in there. Way to be on your shit, buddy. The other guys on my friend's team: Reggie Jackson, 33; Jalen Brunson, 62; Harrison Barnes, 31. That feels good. I'm a real fan of getting Harrison Barnes at 31 with no one else on the team at 5K. And Andre Drummond, we were right, it was well more than it was, 27.
Okay.
Which still, I'm still a fan of. That'd still be on the daddy like list. Yeah. But
I'd be interested to see if that, how that impacts Embiid's ownership.
Yeah.
because not that they're in the same sort of price tier, or even I guess Vooch in that instance.
But just
one of those guys, like I would assume Embiid came down then.
What a great, by the way, object example for what I was just talking about.
Yeah.
Like I was just talking about times you should be ready to change your ownership is when there's massive advantage, and have an ability to move everything when you're, unfortunately, for you, not on a show talking to 1,700 people, but for everyone else, Salah Mejri, 3.3%. Dwight Powell, 55%. I have them projected roughly even right now.
Nick Zylak in chat, you asked this question in the sports betting channel, and you didn't mean to do that, but he said, I know the game is locked. How does that affect my Dwight Powell shares? It doesn't really. They're not as good, but they're not bad.
Yeah, they got it. It's exactly. Like your Dwight Powell shares did get worse. The odds of him playing 34 minutes are now 3%, as opposed to 15% an hour ago. Yeah. And even getting to 30 is now the less likely scenario. But his odds of fouling out went down because now he's dealing with Zaza and not fucking Andre Drummond.
Yeah.
And so it's you're fine. You shouldn't be like, oh fuck my Dwight Powell. Like it's fine, but it's just amazing for the people who got Zaza, and you have a real chance at Zaza getting, Salah Zaza. We're getting Mejri in.
Yeah.
I like Salah Mejri is a perfectly fine fantasy basketball player.
Yeah.
He gets rebound.
No need to stress the Dwight Powell shares that he's not starting. It's not a.
You're not. If you have Dwight Powell,
he's $3,200. That's really all you need to know.
He's still 55% owned. Like,
yeah.
There's. I would change my projection for at this point for him probably to. I still think I'm going to go with like 25, but whatever, 24, 25 minutes, and 26, 27 fantasy points.
Yeah.
So even if he's a little disappointing, and I get that wrong, and Mejri plays 25 and he plays 23, he scores 22 fantasy points for his 3,200 at 55% owned. Yeah, whatever. You're fine. If you have Powell, you don't give a shit. If you had Mejri and got him in there in time, good job. But again, how great would that be? Like, I'd want to increase my exposure and have bet more money having Mejri in there. Like, that was a little bit of an edge. I would want, to be betting more than if I didn't have him. Not a massive amount more. It's not like, yes, Salah Mejri. It's not like I have, I don't know, Kawhi at 1% owned. Most owned was Jalen Brunson at 62.5%. I'll go with don't like on that. I would have less than that. I'm guessing you have less than that. I'll throw a guess out there. I don't know.
I believe I had less.
Yeah. I don't know if you have them capped. A lot of people have 60% caps. So
I had 40% Brunson.
You have left. Yeah. Powell 55, Reggie Jackson 33. There you go. A little higher than we expected. I think we said 29, but still pretty close. Harrison Barnes, as alluded to, 31. Maxi Kleber 30. On DK, I would want less than that. FanDuel, sure. Yahoo, sure. And DK Maxi Kleber is, maybe a little less than that, but he's fine. Drummond 27, as we mentioned. That feels wonderful.
What was the Maxi number?
30.
Jesus.
Yeah. And again, the Drummond number is 27. But
I had 25. I was hoping I was over.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I thought he was going to be 15, 20, and I probably would have wanted over that. At 30, I probably would want to come in under. So I'm feeling fine if I'm you, I think. Dorian Finney-Smith, 17. Okay. Like, there's going to be a Dorian Finney-Smith night. This is going to be it. Aaron Gordon, 11. Blake Griffin, 10.5. So, yeah, again, at 40% of the relative ownership of Andre Drummond, that feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Devin Harris, 10.
That's probably a little high.
Feels like it. Vooch, 7.
Ooh, speaking of being a little high.
Wait for off the air, buddy. Kojo, 7. Yeah, again, for me, I don't see it. Terrence Ross, 5.6.
Anthony Vespi in chat says Drummond will make a name for himself tonight. I'm pretty sure most of the people know who he is at this point. Salah Mejri might be able to do that, but I'm not sure Andre Drummond can.
Yeah, Drummond already has I don't know. I think Drummond has a 30-25 game or something. Like
I'm pretty sure he made a third team All NBA.
Yeah, exactly. Like he is known outside of his high school.
Yeah, he makes $20 million a year playing basketball.
Yeah, that works too. That's one of the nice things about the NBA. You actually know the players. Like they have personalities.
Yeah.
So anyway, Kojo 7%. No thanks. Terrence Ross 5.6. Okay, at 5.6, I get behind that, I guess. Bojan 4.3, sure. Thad 4. Salamejery 3.3.
Love it.
That feels pretty good.
I mean, all that matters really is that it all matters relative to your Powell shares, because really, in this instance, you need Measury to beat Powell.
Right.
So
exactly. Like, you want Powell to get 23 and Measury to get 27, and you're pumping the fist. It's like, sweet, I'm 4 points up on 55% of the field.
Yeah, that's really what you're looking for now. So if you came in underweight on Powell and you have some Salamejery, that's the spot you want to cheer for to start.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, you're trying to win it all. Again, I talk about the sort of the game theory of it all the time. It's like, you need to give yourself a chance to win everything. And that's such a great win everything play versus Dwight Powell, because they're projected roughly equally. And so now against 55% of the field, you got a 50-50 chance of your 3% passing 55% of the other people. Now all of a sudden you're playing a 7-on-7 with 45% of the field. That's much easier to win that tournament.
Yeah. Now Powell's great in cash.
Sure. He's still great in tournaments.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh, Powell is trying. You can have them both, by the way.
Yeah.
Just not insane either.
No, not at all. Not at those prices.
Darren Collison 2.75, Evan Fournier 2.46, Domantas Sabonis 2.26, Jonathan Isaac 2 flat, Luke Kennard 2 flat, Ryan Brokoff 1.5. Get in there. DJ Augustine 1.48, and I just got a triple double, and all I got was this T-shirt and traded Dennis Smith Jr. 0.98%. Congratulations, you played yourself.
That DJ Augustine number feels like oddly low now.
He's really cheap. I will say that, like 1.5%. But I mean, he's in the world of Jalen Brunson, who is 63% owned. So it's like, do I need the second, not quite as good, more expensive, cheap point guard? So like, that's gonna savage that number. But yeah, again, that's a great pivot. Like, what percentage of the time does DJ Augustine outscore Jalen Brunson? 50?
That is something that I try to look at on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's why you know your shit and why you're better than just softball and my ass questions. So
let me sort this and we'll see how different they are. So I have this is relative to their target score. I have Jalen Brunson being a top 15 guy for the day, 37% of the time. Who are we talking about? Augustine?
Yeah.
Actually, only 6.
Interesting. I mean, I do think Brunson gets like 8 more minutes, or 7 more minutes, or something. Like, it has to be around that differential. So that does make it a little sticky. And Augustine is more expensive, so it's not nearly. Nor is the ownership disparity quite as sexy as the Measury versus Powell one, who you're looking at even minutes and are roughly as good producers, and 3% versus 55. So, but what
did Reggie Jackson end up at ownership?
33.
Okay.
Let me see. I'm going to tap through. I think my buddy's in it. Yeah, there is some FanDuel. I'm going to tap through some FanDuel. Sure. See what I'm curious what Drummond is on FanDuel. That's the really exciting number for me.
Yeah, really.
I have a feeling this number may be stupidly way too low. Andre Drummond in the largest tournament, 28. He is the lowest owned guy on this team. I stand corrected. He's actually less. This is bizarre to me. Harrison Barnes, 26. On FanDuel, where you have to play 2 small forwards. Like, there's Giannis and Tobias, but there's not even any of the other value randomly there from Dallas. Who the hell did people play at small forward? 11%.
Wilson Chandler?
Yeah, I guess Dorian Finney-Smith is at 11% here. Again,
I mean, with all the value that opened up, that turns into a lot of Kawhi and Giannis, I guess.
Yeah. Giannis, I don't have the number yet, obviously, but I guess. Anyhow, tapping through. Drummond at 29 feels delicious. Cleaver 35. Powell 47. Yeah, that's what we expect. Brunson 49. Kojo 8. Thad 7. Did I mention Drummond 29? Salamejery 3.6. Look at that. Higher than on. Nice. Man, people are on the ball.
Yeah.
Higher than on DK. FanDuel players win the fastest finger award there.
He was probably in their placeholders. When they were adding centers and they sorted upside down, Measury was at the ass end of it.
That must have been it. Or was that he was, of that 3.5%, 1% they won tickets to this contest.
He was the auto ad.
He was the dummy lineup guy.
All right, 5 starters for the East.
Yeah, your list was really good. I'm trying to think if I can overrule it with anyone. You said Butler, Embiid, Kawhi, Giannis. Who am I forgetting? Butler, Embiid,
Kyrie.
Kawhi, Giannis, Kyrie. I'm going team by team at this point in my head, going like that. Those 5 guys seem really, really good.
I'd have a hard time going to anyone other than
the only guy I can drop out of them. Let's start with that conversation.
Giannis and Kawhi can't come out.
I agree. Giannis and Kawhi cannot come out. And in the East, I don't know who I can start over Embiid.
I think that you can make a sneaky case for Pascal Siakam.
Don't get me started. Does it at both ends. I mean, there's one of the really interesting conversations is you used to get into talks all the time, or I used to get into talks with people all the time and be like, make your all-time starting 5. And my first question is, okay, are you asking me for my best team I can make or the best 5 players, one at each position? Because those are radically different questions.
Right.
The best point guard is Magic Johnson. If I'm playing the best team I can build, I'm probably playing Chris Paul more often than not for slightly better defense, and I don't need the rebounding of Magic Johnson, and I don't need him to score.
Yeah.
Like, if he's out there playing next to whatever Tim Duncan and Michael Jordan, however the hell is you fill out your 5, I don't need it quite. So, like, you can make an argument there. So that's always a really interesting question for me when people are like, who's your all-time top 5? And I'm like, well, am I building a team?
Yeah.
Or, so, yeah, I think you have it right. You can take out Kyrie, but I don't feel any better. Like, at the beginning of the year, I would have taken out Kyrie, but his defense has gotten so much better. And it pisses me off because I've been on the bashing Kyrie thing for a few years, where he'd make boneheaded plays in the playoffs and postseason, and his defense was frequently lax. But God damn it, he's gotten much, much better defensively this year. Now,
you can. That's why you can start making cases for like Eric Bledsoe in this scenario because you're playing the Warriors, and it's like, okay, now I have an incredibly long 1 to 5 switchy type.
Yeah, no, that's exactly. So like that's where like I can see the lineup being as good, minus, maybe taking out like Butler. I think, I'm not going to take out Butler. I want for the defense, but not the best distributor sort of guy. Like they've been running some point Butler recently. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah, Lofty talked about it this morning.
Oh, did he? They've been running some point Butler, which is really interesting. So I think I'm still there, but I could see myself playing a guy over. And I hadn't even gone to Bledsoe, and obviously I'm a huge fan of his, but I'm a big fan of Bledsoe defense. Yeah. He's been underrated as a defender for a long time. Andre Drummond fantasy points 6.2 so far in 2.5 minutes. I just still have that FanDuel lineup up in front of me. Reggie Jackson 6.5, Blake Griffin 8.5. Yeah. It's gonna be a massacre. Detroit's up 7 already.
Yeah. Blake with 9 fantasy points is not a start that I would be really looking for, although I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't know how much I ended up with.
Yeah. Kleber with nothing. Dwight Powell, well, he's not playing, so the Dwight Powell reference seems kind of irrelevant now. Salah Mejri, 1 rebound. Do it, Salah. Do it. Say it ain't so, Mejri.
What a day.
What would you change if you could change anything about basketball? You could change one, obviously anything, like, I don't mean played by space aliens or whatever, but I'm saying, like, if you could make one substantive change to, say, the rules or the procedures of the NBA, what would it be?
I would remove the game clock, but I'm going to be in the minority for that one.
You'd play to a point total.
Yeah, I would do that hybrid system where you play, like a first half, and then it sets like a target score for you based on the, whatever you're up.
I do think that is a better game. Yeah. Like I do think that is a better. Like people will hate it because it just feels weird as fuck. But I do think you get a better game long term. Yeah. The whole clock management. For me, it's really simple. I'd remove the ability to foul out.
Oh, that one's on the top of my list too.
It pisses me off to no end. Like it wouldn't be as bad if coaches didn't play it quite so stupidly.
Yeah.
But there should be a disincentive for committing fouls, but not fucking ejection.
No, I'm with you.
I'm not talking about like unsportsmanlike, elbow to the head, whatever. That's fine. Eject people for, crossing the line of what is physically safe. But like playing defense and committing contact, The fuck are we kicking people out of the game for? Like, why do we have a disincentive to play defense?
Like if Andre Drummond just picked up his 7th foul, then and it's a shooting foul, then shoot 3.
That's exactly what I say. I say past 6, you get an extra shot, and past 8, you get 2 extra shots.
Yeah.
But like, you can't be like, oh, sorry, this random thing happened, and James Harden got 3 fouls in 3 minutes, and now the whole game is about that. It's not how it's supposed to work. You want your best players to play.
Yeah. Can you imagine if this happened and you got like a fucking holding call in the NFL, and then that guy had to sit out for like a series?
Can you imagine that? Or ejected?
It's
like, oh no, that's the
that's third holding.
That's the 3rd defensive holding call on JJ Watt. He's heading to the locker room. What the fuck? Like, it
removes the best part of it all.
Right. And it's yeah. I mean, it does give me one nice thing, which is the ability to make fun of coaches who don't like. I will give you the 10-second version of a 10-minute rant here, which is probably my second favorite after I had the high ground. But my second favorite rant is, if a guy gets 2 early fouls, there are 2 possibilities. One, you take him out of the game, and he will absolutely miss time.
Yep.
Or 2, he will foul out of the game, maybe, and miss time.
Yep.
I don't fucking understand. Like, you had him on the court because that's the guy you wanted on the court at that time. And then you got some fouls, and you're like, oh, I'll take him out and make sure he is missing time. I want him on the court so that he won't maybe miss time that I want him on the court. Like, don't get me wrong, if he gets 4 fouls in 3 minutes, okay, then maybe we're talking about something else. If it's one of the rare times with a certain player where it's important to give him a message, and I don't think that's impossible. I think most of the time that's stupid. Like, Paul George gets 2 fouls, just let the guy play basketball. But if you have a rookie and he runs out there and commits 2 dumb fouls and they get 4 free points, and you pull him off to be like, okay, think about that.
Wendell Carter, Jaren Jackson.
Right. Like, if it's like a fumbling thing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If Adrian Peterson fumbles, I don't think you send him to the bench. He's been playing 14 years. He's Adrian Peterson. You know who the hell he is. If your rookie keeps fumbling the ball, I understand sitting him down. So I sort of get that. But most of the time, yeah, just let the guy play basketball. And if he fouls out, then deal with, like, points in the second quarter are worth as much as points in the fourth quarter. And again, you go from maybe losing my player to losing your player. Absolutely. I'll never, ever get that. Drives me absolutely up the wall, especially when it's with guys who don't foul.
Yeah.
Especially when it's with guys who average 1.7 personal fouls a game and they get 2 fouls in 4 minutes and they take them out. And I'm like,
and like, I'm surprised that someone like D'Antoni and the Rockets aren't ahead of this.
Sorry, I'm just making faces and raising my hands in frustration.
I'm with you. The only other thing that I have that I would add to that is I'd like to slightly widen the floor.
Yeah, it's logistically a bitch, but we played a little bit too far into Rockets, 3-pointers and layups.
Yeah. An
Like,
additional foot or so on either side. Make that corner 3 the correct distance and uniform, and then it opens up a little bit even more, but that's fine by me.
Yeah. Also, just because also the players are bigger and faster than they used to be, and an increased pace and increased size, just need more fucking room. The issue is simply the fact that there are, I will pull a number out of my ass, 200,000 basketball courts in the United States of America.
Yeah.
When you go, we're riding our court 4 feet, a lot of, people who own gyms or school superintendents are like, oh, what the fuck?
I mean, my gym in middle school had like 2/3 of a 3-point line. We didn't even have a corner 3.
Okay, no, you just had it run into, exactly. I used to have a 3-point line runs into the sidelines on a couple of courts I used to play on. I was like, oh. Okay.
But no, just, it's all, like, it's Zion Williamson and Will Perdue are barely the same thing in basketball.
It's like they're not even the same species.
It's just craziness.
Yeah.
So just a little bit wider. They're too big, fast, and strong now.
Salah, we're getting some Salah hate. Only 2 rebounds in 5 minutes or something. 5.5, 3 rebounds, and he just got his third.
Look, they got to play the whole damn game. They don't have any other choices. They're short on bodies.
Drummond with 2 fantasy points a minute right on the nose at the moment. That feels good.
Yeah. Now Drummond could also foul up Mejri in 2 minutes too, and
that's true. But again,
those 2 are going to use all 12 if they've got them.
Just keep telling yourself 3K.
Yep, exactly.
Nothing else.
Alrighty, good show.
Yeah, that was good times. We should do this more often, as we have discussed.
Yes, 563 people still with us, so we really appreciate it. Hit the like button on your way out.
A lot of people love the after chat.
Oh yeah,
like a lot of you guys play late slates, and some of you guys like to, how do you kids say, go get fucking stoned. But I'm always like, yeah, let's talk for 3 hours. Who's your favorite character in Red Dead Redemption 2? If you were an 80s wrestler, who would it be? The first time you tried on lipstick, was it on purpose or were you drunk? I enjoy a good chat.
First 80s wrestler. God, I'd be here all day.
That's the one you're stuck with? Oh, I'm someone who I've actually met and been in the ring with once. I'm Ted DiBiase. Not close.
Great choice.
Ted was the goddamn man. Ted should have got his.
It depends what I'm trying to do. It depends my role. Yep. Am I in the main event of WrestleMania, or am I just looking for a pop? We end up with two separate questions.
And are you trying to be a great wrestler, or are you trying to keep your, like, one of my favorite conversations, and it's a bit reductive, isn't simplistic, but I enjoy ranking wrestlers. Again, I am a gigantic dweeb, in case this was not known to somebody. But
I flew to Boston to watch the Royal Rumble with my college roommates.
Really? I've been to 2 Rumbles, 1 Mania, and 14 WWE events. I worked a contract for them and have supported indie wrestling leagues. And the story I was previously alluding to was I was friends with the guys who ran NWA Upstate, which is the upstate New York branch of the NWA. And they were planning their shows, and then there's just a budget, and you get 300 people at a show, and they each spend $10, and you can only get so much money to bring people in. And the guy who runs the place, his name was Hellcat. Shout out to Hellcat if you're still doing what you're doing. Said, I really want to bring in DiBiase, but he's $5,000. And I went, all right, here's the deal. I will give you the $5,000 if I can cut a promo with him. And he goes, okay. And so I looked straight, and I was like, that might have been too much or whatever.
I might have been able to save 4.
I was young and dumb and had way too much money at that point, pre-family, pre-anything else. So
there you go.
It's on YouTube, and Ted DiBiase comes into Rochester, and was so much fun because we scripted it with me as the face and him as the heel, because he's Ted DiBiase. I mean,
sure.
Got heel, and I was going to come in and be like, helping to support, and they were going to tell the story about how I brought Ted in. I was supposed to get some cheers. And so I get in the ring, and we start doing this, and my mic doesn't work great. And so I start trying to babyface it, and it does not fucking go over at all. So, boo! Who are you? Who are you? Boo! So they're just up and down on me. Ted comes out. It's fucking Ted DiBiase. Yeah! People are fucking excited. Ted comes out. So we mulligan the whole thing on the fly, and end with him throwing me on my ass, and that's everyone awesome. Cheering their ass off. But I loved the fact that I got to do that with Ted DiBiase, where we had the plan where, okay, no problem. I'm going to do face. You're going to do heel. We talked it out and set up a thing. And then on the fly with one of the greatest of all time.
That's so awesome.
Gotcha. Yeah, exactly. That was the best. And then, so we ended with him putting his hand on my face and throwing me down, and I did a decent fall on my back and kicked my legs up. And I'm walking out of the gym because I had to do, I don't remember something, but I was there for the rest of the show, and he's signing autographs and shit. I'm walking by, I'm like, Ted, it was a real pleasure. Nice to meet you. He goes, hey, dude, great bump. Oh.
That is fantastic.
Jesus Christ. Ted DiBiase told me I took a great bump.
Oh, and at that moment, you're just so happy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong. I could have put that $5,000 in a bank 17 years ago, and it'd be like $70,000 right now. And I think I'm good.
Yeah,
I think that worked out right.
Yeah, having the memory plus is fantastic.
Yeah, just the hey, dude, great bump. Oh, thanks, Ted.
You cannot beat that.
Yeah, no, the greatest, the absolute greatest. So. But yeah, I was saying previous to going into that story, we used to talk a lot about, trying to pick the greatest wrestler ever. How would one criteria that, sort of like you were saying? And we used to go max of 30, 1 to 10 scale on wrestling ability, appearance, and work on the stick.
Sure.
So you would get into a lot of conversations as to
Flair is going to be immediately very high.
Flair is like a 28, or he's usually considered a 10 on the stick, a 10 on the mat, obviously, and then probably an 8 in appearance. He's not that big. He's never that cut. He's like 6'1", 6'2". Yeah. So like 28 is usually what you hit for Flair, maybe 27.
Yeah, not everybody can have the Hogan body.
Right, exactly. Hogan is like a 24 only because he's 10 appearance, 10 on the stick. 4 in the ring.
Yeah, depends which country he's wrestling in, I guess.
True. And again, his ring ability was savage too much. He did have a very limited moveset.
Yeah.
But he did not frequently botch.
And it lent itself to a very different moveset once he hit the stratosphere. Much better prior to going completely bonkers, known everywhere.
Yep.
At that point, it was, I'm going to take a beating here, and then I have a comeback to make because this crowd is going to go ape shit when it happens.
Yeah, and again, in the age pre-internet, you were inclined to do the same goddamn thing every day.
Yeah.
We've got it. I do that, and I hook up, and people go nuts, and then we go on to Des Moines. Like, that was how they did it. So it sort of makes sense. So he got, a lot of shit that maybe he didn't entirely deserve. But, like Hogan's a 24. You get guys like Kurt Angle, ranks really high. Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Really high. Like, there's a lot of guys who get into those high 20s. Yeah. It is a pretty good. The Rock.
Yeah, I mean,
ranked really high. Stone Cold Steve Austin ranked really high. So most of the really good wrestlers do rank pretty high on that list.
Yeah, Hogan is like probably one of the main examples of having a low score but still ranking high.
Yeah.
Like you usually, I mean, God, it's so hard to have a good look, be a good worker, and be like just dreadful on the stick.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, Chris Benoit. Also, murdering your family, not a good look, but
yeah.
Also had very limited promo capability.
That is a very true statement.
Yeah, but he was. But
even still, good look in that he was fit.
Yeah,
size was a detriment.
Oh yeah, he was certainly a little guy. More of an issue back then than now too. Like we've gotten more. You don't need to. Like we've gotten into like, what do you give as a body number for Finn Balor?
Yeah, I mean, it's perfect.
Right, exactly. He is I'm guessing 5'11" and 182 pounds, but cut like fuck, very handsome guy. Like he's really great. It's appearance too. It's not just like how jacked you are or how cut you are. It's also like, are you a handsome guy or are you like
your natural charisma too?
Yeah, exactly right. So that sort of falls into there as well, and a little bit on the stick. So it's just sort of a matter of personal taste. Is what do you give Finn Balor? Some people are like 7. He's fucking tiny. Some people are like, I don't know. Guy's looking pretty good and doing pretty good. Brock is an interesting one. Eddie Guerrero tends to rank really high for me.
Yeah,
he gets up there on that list, but it's fun.
God, I love it.
Yep. So we'll do that.
There's the 30-minute live before lock after dark.
There you go, and we'll do a WrestleMania pod or something.
Ooh, I'm 100% in there.
Be good. I slightly prefer the Rumble. The Rumble is my favorite. So unfortunately, we just missed that.
It's the thing for me.
Yeah, the Rumbles are the greatest. Going to a couple of them was exceptional, and just the surprises, and always someone's coming back, and you have your stupid Kofi Kingston spot, and you have it like, yeah, big Rumble fan.
Yeah, that's been doing Rumble contests and stuff since college.
Oh yeah, you do the board.
Yeah. So now that we have a women's Rumble, I didn't win either of the Rumble pools this year, so I have to buy a gift for the 2 winners.
Oh, it's great. That's great. I
ruined it. It wasn't always gifts. It was always supposed to be money. And then, once everybody started to move away and you had to send in money, at one point I sent in a glitter bomb for a winner, which was, great to me. And then I started sending in like ridiculous stuff.
Which was great for you.
I won last year's Women's Rumble. I got the China copy of Playboy.
God, tell me you're not One Night in China is not coming up as a follow-up.
No, I got a Divas title belt buckle. So exactly like the plate on the Divas belt, but as a belt buckle.
That's fucking exciting.
I got a Benoit Club coffee cup.
Jesus.
With the skull essentially being like a giant Bowflex.
God, people don't know the value.
Ruthless friends.
That's amazing. I thought of one other thing that fits in the story that I can't believe I didn't think to mention until this minute.
Hit me.
WWE had what was basically daily fantasy 13 years ago.
I do not remember what you're talking about.
There was fantasy wrestling. They reset it. It was weekly, actually. Sorry. come to think of it. It was weekly, and they set it up so that at the beginning of the week, you picked your lineup of wrestlers and or divas, and it locked, and you got fantasy points for, I remember off the top of my head, was one for like everyone had a list of their trademark finishers, so it was like 1 for appearing on TV, 3 for being in a match, 10 for winning a match, 15 for winning a title belt, minus 10 for losing a title belt, 1 for successfully striking with a foreign object, 5 for attempting a trademark finisher, 10 for hitting a trademark finisher, plus 3 for winning with your trademark finisher, etc. Like, it was fantasy, and it was free, and it was hosted on the WWE website, and they gave away prizes and shit for it, and I was the fucking man at it. So I have like 17 copies of No Mercy 2004 DVD. It was what they gave away for 6 months. I was like, oh, I got another one of that. Like, I was giving them away at the store. They sent T-shirts and merch and DVD, just constantly, whatever DVD was overstocked. So the shittiest DVDs, like, here's, King Booker defending against Finley in the main event of No Mercy 2005 or whatever. Just like, it's the worst. It's the worst DVDs ever. They came in again. But my high moment on that was where JR, good old Jim Ross, said Fast Eddie Fear live on Raw. Because they streamed, play WWE Fantasy now on our website. And at the moment, they went, looking at this week's leaderboard, I see this guy is in first place and Fast Eddie Fear is coming up right behind him in second. I'm like, woo, woo. That's my other real Christmas Goose wrestling moment.
That's awesome.
JR said Eddie Fear on Raw once. So
especially when you don't know it's coming.
Yeah. I was watching live with like 20 friends at the store, so it was high fives all around.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna win another awesome DVD. Yeah, I have frequently inquired with them recently about we should do that again. Hey, you guys, like I know people who work there, and I'm like, I can do it. Just let me know. I have the skills. We can do. I would play. It's the best. It's. I mean, it's the same reason that the sports leagues love normal fantasy. It increases engagement by a gabillion.
Yeah.
What does it cost you? You're gonna pay me, and you're giving away some T-shirts and some shit. Like,
yeah. You're gonna give that shit away anyway.
If you increased, engagement for 10% of your audience by 20%, it would easily be worth it. So,
we got it. We're in the books. Hour and a half.
Good work.
Congrats to everybody. Thanks for being here. See you guys at the top of the leaderboards. Adios.
All right. Good night now.